Palenque, a stunning city built by the ancient Maya, where mysterious temples emerge from the tropical jungle.
Everything in front of us, everything was red.
Ancient inscriptions reveal this place is once the heart of a powerful kingdom, ruled by legendary kings and queens.
Lady Sakuk was the only link to this whole dynasty.
Who are these queens, and why are they so important? What can investigations here reveal about the role of women in the magnificent Maya civilization?
The blood from a queen was just great for feeding the god as the king.
Today, experts have rare access to investigate this extraordinary city, to decode ancient clues, and hunt for answers to the ultimate question: why was it abandoned?
The Maya collapse is still one of the great unknowns in world archaeology.
In the search for answers, we digitally deconstruct this spectacular Maya city. We tunnel inside tombs and temples, come face to face with long-dead royalty, and decipher cryptic inscriptions to unearth the truth about this mysterious lost city. This is the ancient city of Palenque in southern Mexico. One of the most important cities in the Maya world 1,400 years ago.
The Maya were a remarkable civilization. Probably is the most sophisticated civilization found by archaeology so far in the Americas.
Hidden in the dense jungle are mighty stone monuments. There's a grand palace with a 60-foot tower, aligned with the heavens. There are colossal pyramids up to 70 feet tall and 200 feet wide, built from limestone blocks weighing up to 15 tons each. In their prime, they're painted a glorious red. This ancient city covers more than 4,000 acres. It's a shining jewel of the Maya Empire. How and why do the Maya build these giant structures here, 14 centuries ago? Rodrigo Liendo has been studying the ancient Maya for more than 3 decades. He investigates why they build these extraordinary monuments.
We're the core of the beautiful city of Palenque. You can see the most outstanding examples of buildings ever constructed in the whole Maya region.
Rodrigo searches for clues about the Maya in Palenque's main square.
This is the biggest plaza in the whole city. So these were a place where people used to gather to see a spectacle, to have rituals in yearly cycle.
Overlooking the plaza is a towering pyramid. It's the most impressive building in the city. Next to it stands a smaller version. Both are built entirely by hand.
We have to consider that the Maya were Stone Age people. Very sophisticated, but Stone Age people. The Mayas didn't have metal tools, so everything has to be done by human force. But they accomplished great things. These buildings are called pyramids, traditionally. Maya archaeologists used to think that this pyramid was just a device to put temples on the top for worship by the people who were looking at the temple.
But the idea that these pyramids are simply built to hold up temples is soon challenged. When archaeologists tunnel into the smaller monument, they discover an entrance that leads into the heart of the pyramid. Behind a blocked doorway, they find a vaulted burial chamber with a limestone coffin at its center and 2 skeletons on either side. Inside the coffin, another skeleton, covered in a blood-red pigment and adorned with precious objects of jade and pearl reserved for Maya royalty. Who is the Red Ruler buried deep in this magnificent tomb? Rodrigo explores the scene. A dark tunnel leads deep into the temple's interior.
At the first moment, we didn't know if this building held a tomb inside. So it's quite exciting.
At the end of the tunnel, Rodrigo locates the tomb. Inside, he finds the huge limestone sarcophagus, carved from a single piece of rock.
There were no inscriptions in the tomb. We didn't have any text that gave us clues about the identity of the person we found.
In Maya society, only the highest of the elite are buried in a sarcophagus as lavish as this one. This person is clearly very important. Investigators carefully remove the skeleton and send it to a lab for testing. Rodrigo believes the results hold important clues. Anthropological analysis of the bones reveals this is the body of a woman. It's an astonishing discovery. This is the first time a Maya woman has ever been found in a sarcophagus inside a tomb befitting a king. Rodrigo searches for more clues to her identity.
The nature of the bones tell us that she was a middle-aged woman, about her 40s, 50s. Her teeth shows that she had a very good diet during her whole life.
Isotope analysis of her teeth reveals something else surprising. The woman is not from Palenque. For an outsider to be buried in a lavish tomb like this adds to the intrigue.
A high-status woman born in another city means that she was part of a privileged family of another place. She came here to Palenque to marry an important political figure of the city.
As well as being important, this woman was clearly extremely wealthy. But what about the strange red powder that covers the bones?
After lifting the lid from the burial, a very strong, sour, sulfurous smell filled the air. Everything was red, the source of this red color. Cinnabar is a very toxic mineral, a derivative of mercury, toxic and dangerous. The color, it represented life itself. It represented the blood of people doing sacrifice in order to feed the gods. And it was widely used to paint buildings, tombs in the Maya world.
The blood-red cinnabar is not the only evidence of religious rituals left inside the mystery woman's tomb. Investigators unearth two even more chilling offerings. On either side of the sarcophagus lie the skeletons of a 10-year-old boy and of a 30-year-old woman. Cut marks on the woman's chest are signs she is stabbed to death, most likely in a ritual ceremony. And the boy, probably a servant, meets the same fate, sacrificed by the priests of the temple. Their bodies are placed in the tomb of the mystery woman, an honor only reserved for royalty. Thanks to her status and the blood-red cinnabar on her bones, archaeologists nickname her the Red Queen. But who is she? The stunning offerings found in her tomb are now preserved in Palenque's Site Museum. Experts date them to the 7th century AD. This means she dies during the reign of a great king of Palenque.
All these lines of evidence, the isotopic analysis, the analysis of the materials found in her burial, her health conditions, all this information guide us to know for certain the identity of this person. This was Sakabahau.
Zakbu-Ahau is the mysterious Red Queen. Clever detective work helps archaeologists decipher her identity. But among all the rulers of this city, why is she so important? Could Palenque's other temples hide even more royal secrets? The spectacular Maya city of Palenque. Here, experts unearth the lavish burial of the mysterious Red Queen. Why is she so important? A clue may lie inside the towering monument standing alongside her tomb. At the top of the temple, a secret 100-foot-long stairway winds down to the heart of the pyramid. At the bottom, a triangular stone blocks the access to a burial chamber. In its center, a 15-ton limestone sarcophagus. Under two heavy stone lids lies a skeleton of a man. Around him are small fragments of jade that form an eerie death mask. Who is the man behind the mask? Rodrigo searches for clues to the identity of the person buried inside.
The fact that this temple and the temple belonging to the Red Queen are very close together, they suggest that they are related somehow.
At the top of the temple, Rodrigo finds a narrow room. Its walls covered with intricate designs.
It's a very complex text combining imagery and textual information. The Maya glyphic system, probably the most complex script system in the Americas. Glyphs that don't have a direct translation.
What do these glyphs say? Can they reveal who is the magnificent person buried inside the temple?
The text in the inscriptions is the story of an important ruler, an important man. His name was Pakal. It's the story of how this man became king. Pakal was the most important ruler of the city. He ruled the city for about 68 years, probably one of the longest reigns in Maya history.
This monumental temple is built specifically as King Pakal's final resting place. The smaller one next door is for his esteemed wife, Zakbu-Ahau, the Red Queen. Pakal is the most important king in the history of Palenque. That's why both he and his wife are buried in such lavish tombs. But the inscriptions reveal surprising details of this great ruler.
It seems Pakal wasn't meant to become king.
The glyphs show Pakal is not the son of the previous king. So how does he become the greatest king this city has ever known? Rodrigo heads to the royal palace complex to investigate.
This is maybe one of the most complex building compounds in the city. It was the heart of the political, administrative, and ceremonial activity.
In one of the rooms, Rodrigo finds a striking oval carving.
On the right, it shows a very young Pakal, just 12 years old, on a throne in the form of two jaguars. There is a very finely dressed woman that is handing him a crown that we call the drum headdress. So that's the symbol of kings. It's the coronation of a new king, the King Pakal.
Who is the woman handing the crown to Pakal? And what role does she play in his rise to power at such a young age? Rodrigo believes clues may lie in the thick jungle half a mile from the city's center. He hunts for a building known as the Forgotten Temple.
On the entrance to the temple, there used to be stucco figures and glyphs that mention the same woman that is mentioned in the oval tablet.
Inscriptions reveal this forgotten temple is built by Pakal himself. He dedicates it to two people, a woman named Lady Sakuk and a man called Kanmo Hish.
Those glyphs suggested that this could be the resting place of Pakal's parents. This important lady that is also present at the oval tablet, Lady Sakuk, she was the mother of King Pakal.
As mother to the city's greatest king, Lady Sakuk is another important queen of Palenque. How does she help her son gain the crown? Sakuk becomes Palenque's ruler in 612 AD. But how she rises to power is unclear. There's a theory that when rival kings attack Palenque a year earlier, they kill off the male heirs to the throne. When Palenque's king dies, he leaves a power vacuum. Sakuk, who's possibly his niece, steps up and takes the throne. 3 years into her reign, Sakuk cedes the throne to her 12-year-old son, Pakal, now old enough to become king. When Pakal comes to power, Palenque is still in disarray and vulnerable. He needs to quickly establish an unshakable claim to the throne.
Usually in Maya kingdoms, the legitimacy for ruling came from the male line of the family. But in Palenque, the male line of the family disappeared during the war. Lady Sakuk was the only link to this whole dynasty line. The fact that Pakal's mother, Lady Sakuk, she was a direct descendant of all kings. That made her very strong and legitimate to pass over the rulership to her son.
Pakal claims his legitimacy by belonging to this sacred bloodline. He may be Palenque's greatest king, but his success is thanks to two important women. His mother, Lady Sakuk, who restores the dynastic line, and his wife, the Red Queen, who rules beside him. But can inscriptions inside Pakal's tomb reveal clues to a third Maya queen? How does she pave the way for these women's rise to power? In Mexico, archaeologists investigate a magnificent Maya city, Palenque. It's home to two important queens whose influence changes the city's fortunes. How do they become so powerful in what's traditionally a man's world? In King Pakal's tomb, his elaborately engraved sarcophagus could hold an important clue. The 12-foot lid shows Pakal emerging up from the underworld, being reborn. He is carried by the sacred tree of life that connects the worlds of the dead and the living with the heavens. The sides of the sarcophagus show his powerful ancestors. And remarkably, a mysterious woman is among them, but it's not his mother. So, who is she? Felix Kuprat is an expert in Maya hieroglyphs. He believes clues to this woman's identity lie in the inscriptions from King Pakal's temple. He takes a closer look at detailed drawings of the glyphic writing.
It starts with this list of kings and some of the events that took place during their reign prior to the reign of King Pakal.
One name catches Felix's attention.
This is something exceptional here. We have the name of a queen, a woman that was queen of Palenque. We see that because her name actually includes this ish prefix, which is a woman's head, and it's part of her name. It's Ish Yol Iknal, so there's very little doubt that she was a female ruler. And here it actually says that she came to power. Literally says that she was seated with a headband, so it's a coronation.
The text is clear evidence that before Pakal's mother, Lady Sakuk, rises to prominence in the city, Palenque is ruled by an earlier queen, Lady Yol Iknal.
Lady Yol Iknal, she was the first queen in this line of male rulers in Palenque history. So she was remembered as this full queen ruling the state in her own right.
In Maya society, traditionally only men can inherit the throne. But the previous king dies without a male heir. So in 583 AD, Yol Iknal becomes the first queen of Palenque.
Maya queens had the same obligations as their male counterparts, so they were pretty impressive, I would say. And the fact that Ish Yol Iknal is remembered in these later texts in Palenque, people really honored her for a long time after her death.
Not only does she overturn tradition and become Palenque's first female ruler, she holds on to power for over 2 decades. How does she do it? Evidence of Lady Yol Iknal's resilience appears on another inscription, from a staircase inside Palenque's palace.
This inscription talks about a war that took place in Palenque in 599, so during the reign of Lady Yol Iknal. And it says here that Palenque was destroyed under the command of the Snake Kings.
In the time of Yol Iknal, Palenque competes with rival city-states and their fearsome kings. Yol Iknal transforms Palenque, building impressive monuments and expanding the city. But this also draws unwanted attention. The Snake Kings from nearby Calakmul attack Palenque in 599 AD. To curb Yol Iknal's power. They defeat Palenque, leaving the city largely intact, but taking scores of prisoners away. What happens to Yol Iknal? And does Palenque survive this defeat? Back in the palace, Rodrigo Liendo investigates.
In my studies, we have always discussed about the ultimate goal of warfare. And probably the ultimate sign of permanent defeat of a kingdom was the possibility of taking captive the king of that kingdom.
When the Snake Kings attack Palenque in 599 AD, their ultimate goal is to capture and kill Queen Yol Iknal. But remarkably, inscriptions reveal she reigns until 604 AD. She survives this war and continues ruling Palenque. An impressive feat. But Palenque is left weakened and vulnerable. And in 611, the Snake Kings attack once again.
The terrible defeat of the Palenque army and the sacking of the city, it had lingering effects in the lives of the ruling family.
But from the ashes of this broken city, a phoenix is about to rise. In 612, Lady Sakuk takes power, marking a fresh start for Palenque, before she hands the crown on to her son, Pakal. 2 determined Maya queens overturn tradition and paved the way for Palenque's rise under King Pakal. What can a carving unearthed elsewhere in the city reveal about royal women? What other special role do queens play in Palenque's success? The magnificent Maya city of Palenque. Thanks to the influence of three important queens, this city grows in size and splendor. But the royal family has another important role to play in the city's success. Below the thick jungle canopy, among the ruins of a temple, archaeologists discover a broken stone panel. When they piece it together, they find a carving of a scene showing King Pakal performing a blood ritual. He's pulling a pointed object towards his face. It's a stingray spine, a naturally razor-sharp blade to pierce his tongue. Why would the king perform such an act of self-mutilation? Luis Nunez investigates why Palenque's royals perform this ritual. Clues may lie in bizarre artifacts found in nearby temples.
These objects that we can see are incense burners, and they were found in the Temple of the Crosses complex.
The Maya used incense burners during rituals to interact with the gods. The designs depict the different deities involved. But although they're used for burning incense, these beautiful sculpted creations also carry more gruesome offerings. Human blood.
The blood offering was placed over here. Inside the bowl, they place charcoal, they place the incense, the smell of something delicious, and then it comes the blood. When the blood burns, it just immediately goes into the realm of heaven to nourish all the gods living over there.
The blood must be given voluntarily to show the proper commitment. And not just by anyone. It has to be the top people in society.
So the priest or the kings come out after having that bloodletting ceremony and put his blood offering over the incense, and in some cases that blood was considered divine in some of the very elite ruling families.
The rulers of Palenque perform this self-sacrifice during private bloodletting ceremonies. They use stingray spines or obsidian blades to draw blood from sensitive areas of their own bodies. It isn't only men who perform this important ritual. Carvings found at other Maya sites reveal that women have a vital role to play too.
The bloodletting ritual, in the case of women, they make their punctures in their ears and also in the tongue. The queens participate of this ritual. The blood from a queen was just great for feeding the god as the king.
Why are the people so determined to feed the gods? To find out, Luis investigates a group of temples on the edge of the city.
This is an incredible holy place.
Each one of the temples here is dedicated to one of the three patron gods of Palenque. Collectively, they are known as the Palenque Triad.
So the Palenque Triad is at the end related with the pass of the sun, fertility, and death.
The citizens of Palenque believe their patron gods support and protect the city. These three gods are all born from the mother goddess. She is the creator and giver of life, the most important woman of all. Ixchel is the Maya goddess of childbirth. and mother to all Maya gods. Maya women seeking to bear children travel 12 miles by canoe to her shrine on the sacred island of Cozumel. There they consult an oracle, a priest hidden in a large statue of each shell, to seek out their prospects as mothers. The Maya believe that if they don't show the proper respect to the gods, they will become angry and could destroy their society.
The most important thing to do was to give tribute to feed the gods. So they would be like happy with you and you could survive and then prosper as a kingdom. That's why people, it's like offering and being very devout and making this lot of ceremonies to make sure that the sun rises and sets every day. So you can assure the continuity of life over the world.
Does all this dedicated worship of its patron gods bring success to Palenque? And what can a structure just outside the palace reveal about life for its citizens? Palenque. 3 important queens set this city on the path to greatness. But how do Palenque's rulers profit from the city's location? Buried right next to the palace lies a mysterious structure. A limestone tunnel with a pyramid-shaped roof 13 feet tall. These are the remains of a sophisticated aqueduct that can hold 50,000 gallons of fresh water. 14 centuries ago, it stretches 500 feet from one end of Palenque's palace to the temple complex in the south. It's a masterpiece of Maya engineering. Rodrigo Liendo investigates this intriguing water system. He wants to find out why the Maya built it. Behind the palace, he discovers an open water channel.
The source of the water we see here in this channel comes from a natural spring, 500 meters from here.
The Maya build Palenque on this limestone outcrop to harness its year-round flow of spring water.
Ancient Mayas, they thought mountains were the origin of all water. Water was the origin of all life. Without water, it was impossible to build big cities full of people.
But in the tropics, the wet season rains fall for weeks without end. How do the Maya manage this annual deluge in Palenque and prevent catastrophic floods?
During the rainy season, this is one of the wettest locations in the world. It pours. The whole place, this empty space is filled with water, with a lot of pressure and with an incredible sound.
The Maya construct these waterways to control the flow of water and to provide a better surface for building.
This is one of the major aqueducts running through the city. It was constructed to make a flat surface, a big plaza, more space to build the palace on top of it. The aqueduct had also the function of pressurized water, and that's a major achievement. Maya were excellent water engineers.
9 freshwater streams flow down from the hills and spread across different parts of Palenque. The Maya build a sophisticated system of underground tunnels that feed the water from the streams into pools and reservoirs. They build tunnels on inclines that narrow towards the end to increase the water pressure and possibly form fountains across the city. With a ready supply of water to support the ever-growing population, Palenque really lives up to its ancient name of Big Water. But Rodrigo believes the people of Palenque use the underground aqueducts for more than just survival. He tracks one of the channels to a mysterious room in the palace.
This sector of the palace is fascinating. It was framed by a system of pools with water up to here, with a very highly sophisticated drainage system. It's clear evidence of the existence of a plumbing system. It was used to supply water for different sectors in the palace.
A strange chamber reveals another use for these pools.
This curious structure here, this tiny one, is what we believe is a steam bath. You find steam bath in humble houses, in palaces like this. It was a very common practice along the whole society.
The kings and queens of Palenque use these steam rooms for ritual cleansing, bloodletting ceremonies, or taking drugs to induce hallucinations, so they can communicate with the gods.
Before going into ceremonies, ancient Maya people came into this steam bath in order to clean themselves mentally and physically.
Water management helps the kings and queens of Palenque to create a modern, thriving city. But in a city that depends on water, could this precious commodity also be its undoing? What causes Palenque to fall? Palenque, a stunning Maya city whose destiny is shaped by 3 influential queens. But this great city does not last forever. How do Palenque's fortunes change? Maya inscriptions expert Felix Kuprat investigates. He believes a clue to what happens to Palenque lies in a remarkable set of hieroglyphs found in the royal palace.
The tablet of the 96 glyphs is definitely an exceptional example of Maya writing and of craftsmanship. It is spectacular to look at.
Felix inspects the text to reveal a list of the kings of Palenque following after Pakal.
In total, there are mentions of 4 kings, so first Pakal, and then his son and the nephew of this son. And finally, the son of this nephew who dedicated this monument in 783. And this is basically the last firm date that we have in monumental inscriptions in Palenque.
The sudden disappearance of rulers from Palenque's inscriptions is unprecedented. It suggests a terrible event befalls the city. What triggers the vanishing of Palenque's kings and queens? Felix believes the date aligns with the collapse of the entire Maya civilization, one of the biggest mysteries facing Maya scholars today. One theory is that climate change has a major impact on the Maya's agricultural system.
Once that more and more droughts occurred, less food was available because people wouldn't produce as much crops as they did before.
But Palenque is the city of big water. It's fed by mountain springs and is built around an advanced aqueduct system. Surely they have enough water to survive a drought. Rodrigo Liendo believes that even with its supply of water, Palenque is not safe from the destruction sweeping through the Maya world.
The collapse was something like a kind of domino effect. The first kingdom to tumble down affected the neighbor, and so on, so on, so on. Cities were completely erased. Kingdoms were destroyed by war.
All across the Maya world, competition for dwindling resources leads to warfare and chaos. And Rodrigo believes Palenque's reputation may have been its undoing.
Many of these people came to Palenque seeking asylum because of the conditions of Palenque, plenty of water, a fertile region, probably a strong political system.
But by the 9th century, Palenque is completely abandoned. After 600 years of domination, the city's glory days are over.
The last recorded date we have for Palenque is 799, after the textual record got silent.
The city is no longer home to kings and queens, only to birds and beasts.
The Maya were able to accomplish marvelous things.
Eventually, Palenque is swallowed by the forest, but not lost forever. The magnificent Maya city of Palenque, home to 3 powerful queens. In a man's world, they rise to the top. Their strength and determination put the city on the map and set the stage for the greatest Maya king ever known. Their self-sacrifice ensures success and keeps power in the family despite rival attacks. The result is one of the most advanced cities in the Maya world, and spectacular monuments that endure to this day.